Hello, hello. What's up, Foxies? Welcome on down to the Foxhole. Today is the 1 year episode, 365 days with no alcohol. And at this point, in like the 9 months too, like I just feel absolutely amazing. I am so excited. You guys have been with me through, explaining, my whole sobriety journey and, what that kind of looks like. So I'm so happy you guys have made it this far. And, I hope you guys have been, learning things from, my story. And I hope that you guys have really just been listening and really just hearing me through, not only, my benefits, but also my struggles. Because, the struggles and, the downfalls, gets you to, your growth and your greatness. And that's just, where I'm at in my life. I went through all the rain and now, I'm at the rainbow, I guess you could say. But yeah, so thanks for making it this far. If you enjoyed the content this far, you're still watching, please like and subscribe. It means so much to me. And let's get into to today. 365 days with no alcohol. So I'm just going to kind of be talking about, similar things I've been speaking on, just, how I felt, the social aspects and kind of just like where do we go, from here after 1 year. And first, I kind of want to start talking about, what I did on my 1 year. So my 1 year is was February 19th of 2025. So 1 year without any alcohol, and I went to one of my favorite places, Calico um, Mountain. It's called Calico Basin, and it's at Red Rock Canyon, and it's just part of the canyon. I like to go. I went through. I think I may have spoke about it throughout the podcast, but I like to go there a lot during my depression and just clear my mind. So that place, just means a lot to me because it's just like a place of freedom and solace, just away from the whole world, and it's just majority of the time it's just me up there. But it's just me, so I can just sit there and just really, just view all the mountains and view, the neighborhoods and the strip and the downtown, and just really think about, what I need to think about. And I'm like, when I'm up there, like, the past like year or two, like I just thought about like a lot. I just thought about, my dad who passed away a few years ago. I thought about, my depression, where I'm at in that, and, how I'm going to get out of it and what I need to work on to get out of it. I thought about, the whole heartbreak situation I was going through, just coping with that and, learning from that as well, and just like my whole life and Las Vegas in general, and just how kind of like my life shifted from Cincinnati to moving to Las Vegas, because I feel like it's just been a different part. It is a different chapter of my life, but I feel like life is so much different here in Vegas than what my life was like in Cincinnati. So like when I went up there, it was just so powerful to be up there. I'm on top of the mountain, and I just completed 365 days with no alcohol, which like prior to all this, like you would have, if somebody would have asked me like 3 4 years ago, like would I ever like quit drinking, the answer would have been hell no. Like I never even like thought about quitting drinking until I started to back in like 2023. Like it wasn't even like a thought in my mind. But so I just like thought about like all of that, and like when I'm at that top of the mountain, it's kind of like symbolic for me in a sense, because like when I get there, there's so many people like at the bottom of this canyon, and as I'm going to the top, I still see, people, and then I see as I progress up there, I see people stopping, looking at the mountains, or just chilling there. and then they're going back down. And I'm keep on climbing. I'm climbing up the canyon. I still see some people. The people just like to sit up there, sit on the rocks. And then me, I'm keeping on going. And then I get to the top of the canyon. As I mentioned, there's some people up there, but most of the time there's not anybody up there. And I just was thinking one day, I'm like, this is very symbolic, because like symbolic to my life, because I'm trying to grow, I'm trying to make it to the top. And with that, like, you can't just bring a lot of people with you. And not everybody makes it to the top. um and this is symbolic too. My best friend Lindsay, I brought her up there with me, and she made it up there just fine, like very athletic. She made it up there fine. Everything was gravy. And then one time I had brought another person up there, that guy Ron I was speaking about. And I remember like every like few minutes we had to like stop. He just wasn't trained for hiking up a mountain. We had to stop, we had to get water, we had to sit there. And like for me, I just like to keep on, moving. And I know through some hikes and whatever, have some hurdles, but it was just so annoying. Like every like literally 5 minutes. It's like usually takes me like, I wanna say between 15 to 20 minutes to get all the way to the top. It took me, or took us, like almost like 40 minutes. And I just started thinking, I'm just like, these like he's just weighing me down. He's stopping me from reaching my full potential to get to the top. And that's how I felt like it was like in real life as well. So like you just can't bring everybody with you, but like people like Lindsay, that's somebody I feel like I've known since like high school. We've been close for a while, but we became extremely close. When I moved out here to Vegas, and even more so the past few years. She's really been there, but she's somebody I want to take to the top with me. And it was kind of symbolic how she made it to the top with me, with no problem. But it was just like a huge milestone for me, and I just really wanted to celebrate by going to the top of Calico Basin, where when I was in the heat of everything, that's where I went. And like with no drinking for 365 days, like you have to remember, like I started very late in life. Like a lot of people like started drinking as kids, or like in high school. For me, it wasn't until the sophomore year of going into my college. I don't know how I said that, but I didn't start drinking until going into sophomore year of college. So like I was very late, trying and drinking, alcohol. But I had been drinking basically since then. Like mentioned, like I was a weekend binge drinker. I would have wine, with my meals, on and off. But I never really like stopped drinking, besides a few times. Like I stopped drinking a few times in college for like 3 to 4 months. Again, I played soccer, so it was always, a risk drinking. And when I graduated college, moved back to Cincinnati, I definitely had stopped maybe like once or twice for, I don't think it was like 3 months. I think one time it was 3 months, and then the other few times it was just a couple of weeks, just for, to detox my body. But I had essentially been drinking since, that summer, going into my sophomore year of college. So that's, I don't know, like 13, 14 years of alcohol. And just to finally, put it into that. I know that's a huge achievement, and I definitely wanted to, celebrate that. And like even though like I like stopped drinking for myself, um because it was like affecting, my daily life, it just felt so good to be like up on that mountain and just basically give like a fuck you to the world. Because like there was just so many people that told me, like both family and friends, that like I wasn't going to do it. I would crack in a few months, and there was just like really no support. And I remember when I was up on the top of the mountain, I was just like, this is just a big like fuck you to those like people. Like even though like, I did this to myself, it just that was an extra like just like like moment like yes, I did this, and not only did I did do this, but I also like proved these people wrong. And I remember this was very recently, within the past like 2 months. I had saw somebody I used to hang out with all the time, and he was one of those people that dropped off when I had like quit drinking. And he said to me like I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. About me no longer drinking, which I really appreciated because he's never told me that before. And then he also like ended it with that he didn't think I was gonna do it. And I just remember saying like doing what he was like stop drinking. I'm just like, I said I was going, to do it. And he said like, yeah, like a lot of people say this and they don't end up doing it. And I'm just like, well, like I did it. I'm built different. Like I'm an athlete, and people underestimate like how much being like an athlete, especially like at a high level, like your whole life, like matters. And I was chatting with Chat GPT recently, and I found something on this because I wanted to put this into words, but I was having trouble doing it. So I had Chat GPT do it for me. So I want to read this to you guys. It's just about being an athlete. But it says being an athlete can enrich your daily life in profound ways. It often brings discipline and structure as training routines require commitment and consistency. Skills that translate well to personal and professional challenges. The physical activity can boost your energy levels and mental clarity, helping you tackle the day with greater focus and enthusiasm. Athletics also foster resilience, whether it's overcoming setbacks or pushing through tough workouts. The perseverance developed as an athlete helps you face life's hurdles. Plus, it often builds confidence and self esteem as you accomplish goals and witness your progress. And let's not forget the social aspect. Many athletes form strong bonds with teammates, coaches, or fellow competitors, which can enhance your personal connections and support network. So, yeah, and I was thinking about it like 98% of my, like, best friends and closest friends throughout my life played sports at a high level, you know, all their life, very much like me. And, none of my like bar friends here, played sports um like at all. So like, and if they did, it was like I think a few of them like did some like rec things like when they were like really little, but none of them play like competitive like soccer, competitive basketball, like competitive sports in general. So like they don't know like about that like athletic drive with like determination, being disciplined, consistency, and like I said, like people just underestimate that. Like not only do I have that kind of mindset in athletics, I also have that mindset in my everyday life. Like a lot of me drinking took a lot of discipline, a lot of consistency, determination, hard work, and all that good stuff. You just can't just stop drinking and not have those things. Like it requires a lot of mental strength, physical strength, and all that good stuff. And so it makes sense why that guy would say something like that, because he just doesn't have the mindset that I have. But again, like I'm built different, and yeah, and it's just so crazy to even like say it out loud. But like at times of people are trying to better themselves and growth, like people just tend to fall off. And as I explained, that kind of stuff was happening to me. And I saw a quote on I believe it was like TikTok or YouTube one day, and it said don't cut people off, just grow and they'll fall off. And like it's just so true. Like remember, I mentioned throughout some of those episodes, like I lost like a lot of friends when I stopped drinking. And a lot of time, like at a certain point in time, I just stopped texting them to see if there would be any kind of reciprocation. And there never was, besides maybe by like one or two people. But other than that, it was just crickets. And so that like quote definitely, deemed true for me as well. But it's just crazy how people just want to see you fail, or just don't want to like see you reach like your full, growth, your full potential. And like I was thinking too, recently, like I feel like I manifested this as well. Like I was watching those YouTube testimonials before I stopped drinking. I mentioned, and even like that year, New Year's Eve of 2023 going into 2024, I didn't even go out that night. I didn't drink at all. I remember I was just like in a mood, just like obviously I was in my depression at that time, but I was just in a mood. Like I was gonna go meet my friend on the strip and do the firework thing, and I was getting ready, and I just remember thinking like, do I really want to do this? Like, do I really want to a like drink, b deal with the crowds? And I just in my head it just I started getting anxiety, and it just all became just like too much. And I text my friend. I was like, sorry, I'm just not gonna make it. I'm just gonna, chill in and, watch the ball drop here. So I literally just, chilled at the house. I think I was watching Anderson Cooper and Andy do their New Year's thing, and just chilled. And then at midnight I went outside and watched the fireworks from the house. And then I went back inside, stayed up for like, 30, 45 minutes, and then I went to bed. Um, and one reason I did that at the time and thinking, subconsciously, is that I knew my drinking was going to come to an end, in the near future. And I wanted to start the new year out right, not drinking, because I think deep down, I knew that going into the next new year, I wasn't going to be drinking. And even, this past new year, 2024 going into 2025, I didn't do anything either, because like my like, actually two, best friends that live here, they were out of town. So outside of them, I really like there's like two or three other, acquaintances, friends I have here. But I have no clue what they were doing. I didn't even like ask or anything. But I ended up like that night, I saw Janet Jackson, was here, and I saw the tickets were at a decent price. So I ended up just buying tickets to the Janet Jackson concert, and that was at 10 o'clock. I think it was at like 10 o'clock. But I went to the Janet Jackson concert by myself, had a blast. Janet is one of my favorite artists. And then afterwards, I ended up meeting my sister and her wife on the strip, and we just, watched the fireworks, and then we ended up going home. But, the past two New Year's, I just was in that mindset of just like, well, mainly the first one, just like, I'm not going to drink. So I wonder what I'm gonna do this New Year's. I think I want to do something, but maybe just like a dinner, or like a little like house party, with people that really either drink a little or not at all. So yeah, wow, I just was going off about a lot of stuff. But so now I kind of want to just kind of review all the reasons why I stopped drinking and where we are with all of that. So we're just going to start with the hangovers. Like those hangovers are obviously non-existent. I hope like I said, there's been a few times where I definitely like wake up groggy, and I think that's just, lack of sleep. But I don't really wake up groggy like maybe like once every other month. It's very, 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 very seldom. But I hope and pray like if there's anything that gives you a hangover outside of alcohol, I hope I don't ever have to experience a hangover like ever again, because it's just not cute. And yeah, like I just don't enjoy those hangovers. I don't miss them like at all. And yeah, so the next thing is, I would say the next thing is tension, headaches, and brain fog. And I mentioned like the tension headaches, they went away like, a few weeks after me no longer drinking, they would come back for a little bit, and they officially went away like 2 to 3 months after I stopped drinking. But it's just crazy that being in depression under like a bunch of stress and drinking can cause all of this. And I mentioned before, like the tension headaches and like the brain fog was probably the worst like physical kind of like symptom thing I had going on for all those months. Like it was literally like 6 to 8 months of every single day having these tension headaches, and it was the worst. I my mental clarity is good, so I don't really have the brain fog. If there is any kind of brain fog, it's very early in the morning when I had that grogginess, but it goes away, like that. But actually, like brain fog, I don't have anymore. It's more just the grogginess. And so yes, never want to have those tension headaches again. I remember like I never mentioned this before, but even with the tension headaches, trying to figure out what was going on, I remember like I thought it was because like I was wearing like a hat too much or like my glasses, and I didn't even think about it until recently. But I really don't wear glasses a lot anymore, like while I'm driving. Before I always had to because that sun is just, especially in Vegas, is crucial. But there was a time when I was having those tension headaches where I stopped wearing glasses and hats because I thought that was, contributing to those tension headaches. And I kind of just got in the habit of like no longer wearing like, I still wear hats, but like sunglasses mainly when I drive. So I thought that was kind of, weird. And then the next, panic attacks and anxiety. No more panic attacks, thank God. Anxiety, like I don't really have anxiety anymore. Like I said, like I let's see. Yeah, I never really like have anxiety anymore. I used to, it came and went, throughout, my year of, sobriety. There was a point in time where it definitely was bad, but now like at the 1 year, I don't have anxiety. I get anxiety like maybe like here and there, but it's nothing that like is concerning by any means. And again, like big power to all those people out there that are dealing with anxiety and panic attacks and deal with it on a daily basis. Like I really feel for you guys. Because as mentioned, I never like, really had panic attacks or anxiety before my depression, all this stuff happened. And like you guys are soldiers. So I definitely want you guys to know that I I'm here for you guys. You guys have my full support for sure. And then the next one was bad decisions. I have not had a bad decision in a very, very long time. Obviously, I'm no longer, drunk driving. Which like again, thinking about like how much I was drunk driving at one point, I'm just like, you're a fucking idiot, Bruce. And like I would never do that in a clear, sober mind. You know, and like just overall, I haven't like really made any bad decisions because I'm making decisions now with a clear mind. Which brings me to my next, one is the mental health. My mental health and it's my mental clarity is just day and night, both of them. And one thing like I mentioned, like I got laid off from my job, but like not having a job really helped me with my mental health. Mainly because I just felt captive every single day, Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, having to do, work. And I wasn't able to, work on myself, on my mental health. I was up at work doing projects and, all this good stuff. So like not having a job really, helped me. So like now, like when I'm looking for like new jobs, like that's one thing that is definitely going to be big for me is does the company, what do they think of like mental health? How do they see it? Do they give like days off? Because, just taking time off from work and just having it to yourself and not have to worry about anything, it goes a long way. And, that's something like you really don't understand until you're going through some stuff, and until you need like time away. So, not I'm not saying if you have a depression or have mental health issues, quit your job or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that by any means. Again, it was my choice to get laid off. I could have stayed for 3 or 4 other months, and also I got a severance package, so I had money coming in. So I was financially, all good. But I would not recommend quitting your job just because you're going through some hard times. Because it worked out for me. There's other factors. I was financially good. I was still getting money. So yeah. So I was good from that perspective. And then the last one I talked about why I quit. Overall, everything is just the depression. And I don't know the exact date, but it was definitely around my 1 year that I officially had got out of my depression. And at that moment, like, I just felt like I was just at the end of the tunnel. I saw all these, bright lights. Like, I was like in a city, and I just kind of like just stepped into those lights outside of the tunnel. And I remember it specifically. I cannot remember the date. Um, I'm gonna have to find the date. I have to look through my phone and my pictures to see if I can, because I remember what I was wearing. And I take a lot of pictures of me cooking and just doing stupid shit around the house. So maybe I can locate what I was wearing that night and find the date. But it's definitely around the year. But anyways, I remember I was cooking in the kitchen, and I can't remember the song I was listening to. I think it was just like a bad bitch anthem. It might have been like Beyonce's Formation, Coachella Virgin, because I just love that song. I just feel like the baddest bitch ever. But I was like listening to like a song that was just so inspiring. And I remember mid cooking, I walk over into the bathroom, have my headphones on, music blasting. I just look in the mirror, and I remember just saying, "You did that. You did that. You did that." Because I was just so proud of myself. And I just remember at that moment, I like felt like a new person. I'm like, it just feels so good to be myself, be Bruce again. Like, it just feels amazing because I hadn't felt that in a few years. Like, and that moment was just so like uplifting for me because I knew at that moment I was fully out of the depression, and I was just feeling, better than ever, just so powerful. And like, I really did that like by myself. Like, there's been so many times in my life, especially as a kid, where people told me I couldn't do stuff. Bruce, you can't do this, you can't do that. You're not gonna make it this far in life. Like, I even had a teacher one time tell my mom that I wasn't going to succeed in college. I wasn't going to make it to college, and all that good stuff. So I like have all this like in my head, my conscious, like saying I can't do something. So like, I feel like a lot of like my adulthood life has been like proving people wrong. And like, I don't ask for like help a lot. It's definitely a flaw of mine, but it's because of all these people always telling me like I can't do something, but like in the back of my head, like, yes, the fuck I can. So this was just like one of those moments again where like I'm not gonna go get a therapist. I'm going to sit down and do this myself. And people definitely helped me, along the way. All my best friends here in Las Vegas, or my two best friends here. All my friends back in Cincinnati. And I definitely talked to some of my closest friends, and that have therapists, and they kind of tell me about their sessions and what kind of questions they ask. So I took that information and brought it into, my self therapy. So I kind of had, that on my side, but like overall, like I sat down, I, went through my whole healing process, all my past trauma, um, just told the truth about a lot of things that were going on in my life that were diminishing, like my life. And I sat there and I faced all those battles, all those uphill climbs, and I did that shit myself. And that, to this date, I think, outside of like making the decision to no longer drink, is just the biggest flex. And I'm just so I don't want to sound like arrogant or conceited by any means, but I am just so proud of myself for just not only getting out the depression, but doing it myself. Because like, you don't really understand like how like the mind works until you're going through situations like I was going through, and how much like you know you're like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's just so hard to explain, like, if you haven't like had these brain falls, these tension headaches. You just feel just like trapped. But it just felt amazing to finally get out of all of that. And again, thank you to like everybody that has been in my corner, on my side. I've had conversations with about their past and their depressions, and also hearing my story. And not a lot of people have heard my full story. Like, only a few people, my closest friends. But outside of that, this is what this podcast is for as well. Just tell everybody my story. So this is here it is. So I'm hoping like you guys have learned something from this. And I'm hoping that you guys have, are really hearing from me. And if you guys have any questions at all, please drop them in the comments or DM me. Like, I am definitely here to help. And as I said, like, I'm definitely in a better like mindset now to answer questions, because a lot of people were asking me questions like throughout my whole depression, and me drinking. And I would always respond, but like, I feel like now I'm in a place to be certified to like answer those questions, because now I am out of the depression. I do have full good mental clarity. So yeah, like, any questions you guys have, definitely drop them. So a few things I want to talk about now is just kind of some of the benefits that go along with no longer drinking. And I don't think I brought this one up before, but one of the first things I noticed is time. Time is on your side when you no longer drink. And you don't really realize how much time is in a day until you stop drinking. Like, 24 hours is a long fucking time. But like, I would dedicate so much to like drinking, it would take away a lot of like time. Like, you're thinking like going to pregame, getting ready. Was drinking, and getting ready, between showering, changing, and usually I do other stuff while I'm getting ready, like put the clothes away, clean a little bit. That's taking an hour or two, and then you get to the pregame function, and then that's another hour or two. So that's about 3 to 4 hours right there, and then you're spending I was spending the day at the bar, and that could be anywhere from like 4 to 6 hours, and then if you go to an after party, that's another hour too. So essentially, you're like on a 6 to 8, or I keep on saying your. This is about me and my story, but I was like on a 6 to 8, like, and this stuff is probably relatable for other people too, which is why like I think this is good. But I'm spending 6 to 8 hours on the weekends, like Saturday and Sunday, and like sometimes Friday, drinking. And like, now I have that 6 to 8 hours back. That's a whole ass a day shift. So like, now I'm putting that energy into things that are with more substance, things that like mean more to me, and getting back to things that I really enjoy doing. And so yeah, it's so great to have that time back. Like I said, like, I been doing a lot with this podcast. I started like reading books. I started like filming videos again with like TikToks, and dancing and just doing stupid stuff around the house that I like love to do that I wasn't doing for a long time when I was in my depression. There's a lot of other stuff, I do in my spare time, but we don't want to talk about that here. And then losing friends is kind of the next thing. And yes, we're talking about benefits. And like it is a benefit in a sense. Like they say like people losing friends is a loss, but when it takes time away from, like you being the best, you can be, um it's not a loss. I look at it as a gain for sure, because now you don't have those people in your life. You can make room for new people with new energy, good vibes, and kind of have that athletic mindset that I have to make me grow and help me grow in life as well. And like you're supposed to get like better like in life, and you're supposed to grow. And like I was thinking about it, I take it in a sense as like just think about like in school. You're like in like seventh grade and eighth grade. You have to take tests. You have to pass the grade so you can get to the next level. And the next level would be eighth grade to ninth grade, and then you want to graduate high school, and you want to get to the next level, college, and then so forth. You can get your MBA, and then you go to the whole adult world, working and stuff. And even like from an athletic point, like just say like high school soccer, for example. You have your freshman team, JV, and the varsity team. You want to get to be on the varsity team, but you might start at freshman or JV level. For me, I started at freshman level. I worked my ass off. I got to JV, and then eventually I got to varsity. But I'm constantly trying to better myself, get better, so I can get to the next level. And that's how I take my life as well. I'm constantly trying to get better, and if people aren't seeing that and they don't want to come with me, then that's when you have to leave people behind. And that's kind of what I was doing when I realized people I was around weren't ready to grow. So I'm like, I'm just going to take this journey and kind of just do it by myself. And as I mentioned before, when you cut out drinking, you just realize you really don't have anything in common with a lot of people you're hanging out with. Because again, like a lot of like the people like I knew in Vegas, I met in the bar scene. I didn't meet out playing soccer or tennis or running. I met them in the bar life. So that's where our meeting place kind of is. That's what we know in a sense. And I was ready to get out of that space. And I'm definitely more like interested in self development than going out and drinking and ruining my life 4 to 5 days a week, because a lot of the people I was hanging out with, like, they're drinking way more than I am, like way more. Like I'm usually just going out. There would be definitely times I go out on the weekdays, but I'm not going out getting crazy because again, like I had a job. I was working 7 to 3:30, so I always had to be up fairly early. So if I did go out on the weekdays, it's more like going to watch like a hockey game or like a football. I have a few drinks, but mainly I would just weekend binge drink. But like a lot of people I know, like they're drinking all throughout the week, and they're staying out all night. They're staying out to 6, 7, 8 o'clock a.m. And I remember like a lot of times I would like be looking at their stories and stuff. I'm like, why are they still like out? Like it just doesn't make sense. Like I'm out like doing my morning run and I see people still at the bar. I'm just like, why? And this just isn't like a one time thing. I've definitely done that. Don't get me wrong. I've definitely done that in the past for sure, 100%. But like I said, like that's just like not me. That's not who like I really am. And think about just doing that like in a clear mind. I'm just like, oh my god, I cannot believe I used to do that. But like just like when I'm like out, bettering myself at like 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and these people are just like belligerent, drunk, and just still acting a fool from the night before. I'm just like, those are the kind of people I don't want to surround myself with any longer. Like I just can't. But it really is true. Like you do become like a product of your environment, and at a certain point in time, I really realized that. Like I started to realize I was becoming a product of my own environment, doing and picking up habits of the people that are around me, and I'm just like, Bruce, what the fuck are you doing? Like this is not like you, like at all. And so I just had to like I just remove myself, and it's just really just time to attract new friends, who know how to function without alcohol, and on or just on a journey on a road to better themselves or continue to just work on themselves every single day. And I think I mentioned in a previous episode, but there's a lot of people that I was hanging around with that I never saw sober. Like I was, in that little group for like 2 to 3 years, but I've never seen a lot of them sober. And it's just like, it is just wow to think about that. Like, it's crazy. And like, I do want to mention before I move on to the subject about like losing friends, like, I have no beef with anyone I used to hang out with at all. There's no beef. Like, so, like, if you think there's like any kind of beef or hostility from me or maybe from you, there is none on this side. And if you're beefing with me, then you are beefing by yourself. Like, I am in such a great space, great headspace, that I just like that whole life was just the old me, and I'm only really talking about it now because it's just part of my story. And I know, like, it can help somebody else as well. But I still communicate with, like I said, like everybody I was hanging out with, I don't think is toxic. And there are still like one or two people definitely still hang out with. Um but outside of them, I don't really have any to desire to go back to that old me, and hang out with those people I was around, for those 2 to 3 years. Actually, for 6 years since I've lived here, because I hadn't seen any growth from any of these people I've known for all these years, and I'm ready to grow, and they aren't. So that's just when you just have to realize your losses. You guys are just on different paths, and I'm going to go this way, or actually, I'm going this way, and the other people are there going in their own direction. But like, I wish nothing but success for like everyone I was hanging out with, and like, I think Tupac may have said it, but like, just because you lose me as a friend doesn't mean you're an enemy. I'm definitely bigger than that, and like, I still want all of those people to eat, but just like not at my table. There ain't no dinner for you on my table at all. Like, but I wish nothing but the success for all those people for sure. Like, I mean that for like for real. And then the next thing is, I guess it's a benefit, but it also is like a downside as well. It's just loneliness, just part of like the social dynamics of everything. Like, there's definitely been times of loneliness, boredom, just nights over on the couch, sitting on my bed, and me just trying to really just figure out how to navigate this new life. And I'm embracing a new me, so I'm just trying to navigate like what my life looks like from here. And like, as I was mentioning, like, I'm spending 6 to 8 hours like per day around alcohol. So now that I have that time back, I'm doing all these new things I like to do, and have like bringing them back old hobbies. But still, there's still a lot of like time in the day. You don't really realize that until you give up alcohol. But but yeah, there's definitely going to be like a lot of times of loneliness, but it's just a lot of time where you can just really work on yourself, which is why I like to include it as one of the benefits as well. So like, if you do like go on a journey of sobriety, just know that like it's going to be lonely, and that's something I took for granted when I was watching all those YouTube testimonials. People saying they're going that they lost friends and they're lonely, and I'm just like, oh no, like that won't happen to me. That won't happen to me. Like almost every person said that, and I'm just like, no, it's not going to happen to me. God damn it! And then here we are. Now I'm doing my own testimony, and just telling you guys that yes, I lost a lot of friends, and there's definitely periods of time of loneliness, but it is 100% for the best. And make sure you do not break in those times of loneliness, because I swear, like, it's better on the other side for sure. And then the next benefit is enhanced physical performance. And I'm going to read this to you guys because this is the big one for me, because like I love being active. I love running. I love going to the gym. And there is a long period of time where I just felt like when I'm out running, because usually I do like 6 to 8 miles, 6 to 8, 6 to 9 when I'm running like 3 or 4 times a week. And there's a lot of times I just felt like I was just slow, groggy, and like I feel like all my life I've been like fast, and I just felt like just the slow. So I want to take you guys down some things I found on Strava with like my times and just how much better my times are now that I'm like sober. So the first one is March 23rd of 2024. So I ran 6.69 miles at an 840 mile pace. And like when I saw that, I'm just like, that is so fucking bad. And like, I don't stop either. Like I definitely had to stop on my runs at lights and all that good stuff. But when I stop, I always stop the app as well. And when I start running, obviously, I hit go. So these are pretty much, accurate paces. And like when I saw the 840, I'm just like, yo, I used to have to run like a mile in like under like 5 minutes for soccer, and I'm almost at like nine 9 minutes a mile. Like that is bad for me. And then okay, so that was March 23rd. A few weeks later, April 6th, 2024, I ran again 6.69 miles, and my time was 7 minutes and 54 seconds per mile. So that went down around like 45 seconds. So that progression. And reminder, I stopped drinking on February 19th, February 18th, 2024. So these are very, recent after I stopped drinking. And then the next one, I don't know why I don't have any record. Maybe my times were exactly around the same, but we're going to jump to October 26th, 2024. I ran 9 miles, 9.5 miles at a 7 minute and 1 second per mile pace, which is a lot better. So you can already see I went from 840 to 7 minutes and 1 second, and that's in October. So that's around like 7 months of like no alcohol. So you can already see like my times are getting better and better and better. And then December 5th, a few months later on 2024, I ran 5.16 miles at 629 per mile pace. And I definitely do remember that run. I ran that on the strip, I believe. But again, you just see like how my time started up here, and they just started decreasing, and that's because I was like losing weight. I talked about how I have arthritis in my back. I have a bad back, and with the alcohol, it would my inflammation, my back would flare up a lot. And then with no alcohol, it reduces the inflammation, so I don't have all that inflammation like in my back now. And I remember like as I was running more into my journey, I felt me getting faster. I felt me leaning out. I felt me running you know, faster and at a good pace and at a steady pace. Because there's a lot of times I would start like the first mile or two would be good, and then I would just crash. But now I like felt like me just having this pace and then basically like sticking to it right around the same time. But I just felt just way faster. My runs were way faster, and my runs were more enjoyable now. Because there's a lot of times during my depression where I wasn't running as much, but my runs weren't enjoyable because I was running fucking 8 minute miles. I'm just like, this is not good. Like usually I'm around the 6 7 mile mark. So like now to like have that progression again, like it just felt amazing because I love to run. So when those times like that, like I'm a happy camper, and it makes me motivated to not only keep running, but beat those times as well. So then the next thing is benefit is young moolah, baby. More money. Yo, my financial savings were very, very cute. So listen to this. I did a bunch of math. So I went to my bank, went through all my bank statements of 2023. And let's just take a look at this. So I divvied up everything that like all my like checks at like bars, and all that good stuff. But I excluded Ubers and like drunk food. So this is not spot on by any means. This is just like an estimate, average, whatever. So for 2023, spent on alcohol $6,604.79 per year. And I just remember seeing that, and I felt disgusted. Disgusted. $6,000. Think about like what I can do with 6,000 fucking dollars. You can do so much. Oh my gosh. That really made me like frustrated for sure. And I looked at that like last year, a long time ago, and I just remember thinking like, if I could have all that money back, just think about like even when I started drinking, like just say like around $6,000 on average, like every year. That's like almost like between like 70 to $80,000, like more money I could have if I never drank. Like I don't think I would have never not drank, but just it's just funny to like think about that. So like now moving forward, I'm just thinking like how much money I'm saving. Like my bank account is definitely flourished last year and this year. Like I just have I feel like I have more money. I've been on Amazon a little bit more. Even when I take my trips, I've been staying at nicer hotels. So that's been good. Just having better accommodations. I upgraded from flying like Frontier Legion all the time to like flying Delta. Just little things like that. Like I still fly Frontier Legion like if I like have to. If I do like a 40-minute trip to like LA or like Arizona, like Phoenix, I don't have a problem with flying Frontier Legion by any means. But don't forget where you came from. But the point is, like, I just have more money in general, and it's definitely very nice. So I'm looking to have more money, moving forward. Um, and one thing I did for like this kind of like a new topic, but like accountability is I definitely wrote all the days of my sobriety on a calendar I have in my kitchen. So every single morning I came down and I wrote each day. And as of today, I think I'm at 423 or 424 days of no alcohol. And I also bought as I mentioned in another episode, I bought myself, gifts every month, and I wrote myself letters as well. And the other day, when I was doing some cleaning, I found one, and I read all the other ones, but I found one, so I want to read this one. And I don't think there's any more others laying around the house, but I definitely want to read this. Um, so this was at 75 days of no drinking. So it says, this is your 75th day of no alcohol. Remember when you told yourself you couldn't do any of those 75 hard challenges? Look at you now. Keep up the good work and continue thriving physically and mentally, from Bruce. And this is just when I bought the gifts on Amazon. You can like write yourself like a letter. So that's all like that is, if you guys can see it. But that's all that is. So accountability is, make sure you are accountable for yourself, and if you decide to do this sobriety journey, and if you know somebody else that is thinking about it, it would be cool to kind of do it with somebody else so you guys can keep each other accountable. Just accountable ability partners. But for me personally, like I said, like I wanted to prove to myself that I can do this, by myself. Like I definitely reached out to some people that I knew were sober. And there's one person specifically here. Oh, Nikki Saturn. He was on my one of the episodes, and telling his story. And he's one of those people that I knew, were like, sober. And there was a long period of time where I wanted to reach out to him, but I decided not to, because I wanted to do this on my own. And then, after, um, everything, all my healing, all that good stuff, and I was doing this podcast, I'm like, this will probably be, a good time, to reach out to him. So that is 1 year of sobriety. And again, I just want to mention, like, I am not trying to get like anybody to, stop drinking by any means. I'm just simply just telling, my story, about my journey and all the benefits and, the struggles that come along, with my, my journey. Because I know a lot of the journeys of people who, stop drinking are, parallel in a sense. People definitely have different factors, going on. One person might have those brain fogs, tension headaches for up to 6 months after drinking. Me, it was only 2 to 3 weeks and 2 to 3 months to fully get it out away from me, because those fucking sucked. But yeah, so I hope this helps somebody out there. And if you know anybody that has been thinking about going on this path, show them this podcast, because I think my story can help somebody. And as long as this helps at least one person, like I did my job. My goal here is to just tell my story and to inspire the next person. So kind of like, where do we go from here? So again, like, 1 year sober, feel amazing, and this is the first time in my adult life I can say, like, I absolutely have a clear mind. Like, before, like, my depression, even like I was like drinking, like I thought I was in a clear headspace, a clear mind. But you realize, like, now that I'm out of it, and how like my mind feels and my mental health and my mental clarity, like I wasn't in um I didn't have a clear mind even before my depression when I was drinking. Just because I know now how that actually like feels. So the sky is really the limit for me now. Like, I want to continue to have this mental clarity, all the time. I don't have any desire to, drink again. Just because, like, when you go through something just so, like, I was down bad, and when you go through, something like that, and you overcome it, which I did, like, you don't want to go back there. You don't want to backtrack. And that's where I'm at the point in my life. I don't want to go through what was the worst time of my life. Never want to go back down that road again, because I just was not myself. I was overall just bad vibes. I feel like I wasn't like a good person, and I just can see it from my day to day now. Just the opposite of who like I was, during my depression. And like, when you're seeing all these benefits now, like, you just don't want to go back. And like, I had somebody recently ask me if like I would even do like a champagne toast like at a wedding, and I'm just like, no. And she was like, no. I'm like, yeah, like, I don't want any alcohol like in my body like at all. Like not even like medicine. I don't know if I told this story yet. If I did, I apologize for repeating it. And if I didn't, here we go. So there's one time I was feeling sick, and so I had some. What was it? Is it a ZQL or NyQuil? I'm pretty sure it was NyQuil. And so I took the NyQuil out of the cabinet or whatever, and then I start to drink it. Like it doesn't get down like, in my throat or whatever. I just felt it on my mouth. So I'm just sitting there just like, because I just felt I could taste the alcohol and was like, this is disgusting. And I literally just yo, there was orange because it was orange. It looked like there was like orange like Fanta like everywhere. It was all over the floor. It was on my countertops of my sink. It was on the mirror. And it was orange. It got on like my rugs. But I just remember like that taste is just so nasty. Oh my gosh. But I had a close call. That was a very close call. And I had another close call too. I don't know if I ever told this story as well. I was at a pool party, and my friend and I, we both had similar drinks. Ugh, not similar drinks, just similar cups. I can't remember what was in mine. I'm pretty sure it was like a Gatorade, and there is some like vodka or some shit like in his. But anyways, we had both of our cups like that by our lawn chairs. Like here's my lawn chair, here's his. There's a little space. We put our drinks there, and I was like just chilling back like this, catching the rays, even though like I don't really need to. But I was catching the rays, and I grabbed the cup, thought it was mine, it wasn't, and then I sipped, and it got on my tongue again. In that moment, I felt the alcohol. This was before the NyQuil thing, but I felt the alcohol, and I was like, ew, and I just like spit it out on the ground. I'm like, oh, that was a close call. Like I'm hoping something like that does not happen like in the future. Um, yeah, I hope it doesn't happen. But yeah, so those were like two times where I was so close to drinking alcohol. And like if that happens in the future, like yes, it would suck, but I'm going to try my very best to like not let that happen. Even like when I'm like at the bar with like people and there's cups like everywhere, I make sure like it is clear like which one is like my cup. And again, like I'm like in a sober mind too, so like wouldn't really get these things like mixed up. But yeah, but like I've been like I've grown so much like in the past year, just learning about myself, and I can truly say that like I never really had to like kind of think about anything or like work on myself because I never really been through anything. And the fact that now I've been through a bunch of shit since I've lived in like Las Vegas, like I actually like Vegas has taught me a lot. It's definitely built me into the man like I am now, and the person now. Like this is who I want to be. The rest of my life. Obviously, I want to keep on continuing to grow. But like where I'm at, this headspace, this is like where I want to be because I just feel like amazing. And I definitely read some things from those testimonies, and that things continue to get better past a year. So, and I also talked to somebody else last year. This guy I had met, and he told me he was like I think it was a little bit over a year sober at the time, and he told me benefits continue to come. So I'm definitely as of today, I'm 14 months sober, and let me tell you, I'm going to stick around for as long as I live to find out all these benefits that come, after a month. Because again, like when you're drinking, your brain is like shrinking. I drank for all those years, so like my brain is expanding. So I can't wait till it continues and continues to expand to its full expansion. And yeah, because there's a lot of time like I thought like I couldn't remember shit, but now I remember things like more, and I can just feel my brain, expanding. So yeah, so the first season of the podcast has come to a close now. And as we move into the second season, I'm excited to explore new horizons while I continue dedicating episodes to, my sobriety journey. And I also open up about other deeply personal stories from my life. These include like, my coming out experience, how life, changed afterwards, and what it was like growing up, closeted, and also, my move to Vegas and just the overall transition. And I'll dive into topics like those and beyond, and adding new layers and perspectives to the journey, that I'm sharing. So you guys would definitely, I wouldn't say this was like a somber side of me, but it's more like talking about all this is kind of like depressing in a sense, but also like uplifting at the same time. But moving forward, you guys will definitely see like more of my personality. If you don't really know me, more of my personality, more of my joking, more smiles. Because again, I just feel like a lot of this is just depressing, and while I'm talking about all this stuff, it kind of, in a sense, it used to bring me back to like a bad place, but now I kind of just embrace those moments and struggles I used to have, and it just, like I said, it just made me to who I am. So yeah, so last thing I just kind of like want to leave you guys with before I go is just thank you all for tuning in and listening and hearing, my story. I felt that I had something, very meaningful to share, and I wanted to put it out there because I know it might help someone else, who, needs it. And since starting my sobriety journey, so many of you have been following along, rooting me on, and asking questions as you consider starting your own path. So this experience has been incredibly, therapeutic for me, and I truly hope I've been able to answer, many of your questions that you guys may have had. And if I haven't, please, again, like, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm open. I'm an open book, and as you can see, like, I am so ready to share just anything. Nothing is off limits here. I'm definitely an open book. And at this point, I'm really not afraid to, put my life out there to, you know, the world. Usually I'm just putting out my life to, my closest friends, but I'm ready to put my life out there to, everybody else, because I think, my story can help somebody. So, yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this, please, 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 pretty please like and subscribe to the Foxhole Pod. It would mean so much to me if you did that. And then again, this is just the wrap of season one. And, just give me a few weeks, and then we are going to come back with season two, new material, along with, still stories about my sobriety. So this has been such a great like accomplishment for me. I remember just thinking about this idea and just have it come to fruition. Sitting down for like my first episode, which was in my basement, and now I'm in a whole new setup. I like this setup the most, so I'm going to keep it this way. And yeah, maybe add some other things, but I am so excited. I'm going to take a little break for, a few weeks, maybe up to a month, and then we are going to dive back into the next part of the Foxhole podcast series. So again, from my bottom of my heart, thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for listening, and I will see everybody in a few weeks. Foxies, I love you guys. All right, see you guys later. Have a good one. What's up, Foxies? Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And be sure to follow me on social media at the Foxhole Pod. See you next time. Whew, it is a wrap. I hate when I sit like that because my fucking knee buckles. Let's see if we can, this happened last episode. Let's see if we can hear a crack. Ow. Ah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So I don't know what that is, but that shit hurts. My Foxies.